You're back at the lab. It's day 2 of building this custom diffuser on the back of our mini powerful VQ35DE TT powered Nissan March. So we had a look at the mounting points and stuff and things yesterday, chopping and changing everything. Started off with a complete fresh panel. It was rejected material from a aluminium supplier. If I'm honest, it was water damaged, so I'm not too fussed about chopping holes in it, chopping and changing it, trying to get to where we want to be. If it looks a bit scody at the end of it, we'll start from fresh with a bit of, there's enough material behind old Cyberman face thing there to do another one. So onwards from the previous video, I've chopped a little recess in here. I'll put a little speed bump over that so that everyone doesn't get all upset about air escaping from in the engine bay and putting high pressure air under here where it's supposed to be low pressure air and stopping it working and all that internet kerfuffle. So we'll just put, I could probably have actually just panel beated that in there, but whatever. The original shape of this can still be seen here. It was quite a steep angle towards the end there. We're now, it was 50 yesterday, we're now 60 millimeters higher up here than what we were before, with a pretty reasonable sort of angle going on here. So that's 2 degrees there, it's about 4 or 5 degrees in the middle. It does get up to about 10 towards the end. And the magic number's 7 degrees according to the internet and everything like that. But this is a blow-in diffuser, so we do have some assistance with exhaust gas. Well, it was. It may not be anymore. We'll see. So 7 degrees, that depends on many variables, but people like to throw it about as the number. So that panel there is now far too tall to go far too. It's too tall. We can show you that. That's about where all those screw holes all line up there, about that. You can see it's too tall. So we'll lose whatever that is, 20 millimeters of material from a new version of that for the entire width. And seeing as we're not starting from something that I'd already put a handful of holes in and then tried to turn it into a cheese grater, we can actually design that a little bit better to make it lighter overall. I thought that was really heavy. It feels really heavy when you pick it up. It's only 1.2 kgs. So, you know, we'll get it down to a kg or something like that, and it'll be hard to make it actually work and be lighter than that. So, previous diffuser had these inserts in it. That's the middle one there. The hole that you see there lines up with a hole that's in the subframe where this bar, it's really hard to show you, and that bar intersect down there, and that was a jacking point. We can put that back in. That's still going to work, but I think I'll move it towards the back. It was actually I'm talking and babbling because I was going to say it's actually quite hard to get a jack in all the way under the back of the car there, but we've just lifted this up 60 mils. It might not be so hard anymore. Speaking of that, quite a lot of excess material here because the original one had a big curve on it, right? So it's easier, it's a shorter distance to go straight line from A to B than what it is with a curve. So we've ended up with an excess hanging out here. There's actually enough there. If I shorten the diffuser overall, we can just fold this up to here, and that will remove a whole line of riv nuts and screws and a double thickness of material that width, the entire width across there. So there's, let's say 200 grams there. But I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but we're fighting for grams on this thing. It was 1240 kgs or something like that. We want to get this machine, well, I want to get it 1150 or something like that. So we're talking 100 kgs we've got to take out of it somehow. We've got 30 from our HGT precision gearbox that's hiding in plain sight just there. That's 30 kgs lighter than the original Nissan Navara D22 diesel gearbox that we were using. And there's some weight that's come out in other places. Watch all the other videos to see all that. Right, let's have a look at doing a template for this, for folding this, and see where we're going to end up. Okay, sort of heading in the right direction, I think. That's the true bottom of the car, that black line there, versus where these were before. And these were getting quite a beating. You can see the stretcher shrinker marks on here from this hitting the ground, getting distorted, hammered back into shape, stretched or shrunk or whatever it was to try and get it flat again. This one was actually replaced entirely. It's actually thinner material. It's 1.2, which is probably all it needs to be. But I don't have any of that right now. So what I'm going to do is extend these, make new ones that extend all the way through to here somewhere. They don't necessarily need to go to that corner, but they might do. We'll see how thin the material gets at that end. And that'll put the strength back in where I've notched this for our suspension arms. We could actually have them fill in some more of these gaps, although it might make it quite hard to fit it. One at the front here is probably not a big deal. You could have it come up quite a lot higher and fill in this area here. Stop air galloping around here like this and ruining the whole diffuser effect. And then we'll do an extension out the back here, which will only need 5 or 6 screws across the whole width of that versus the, I don't know how many screws are on that. Ignore the massive overhang at the back there. Just working on where I'm going to trim and cut these. Done something a little bit different with these ones. I've put a return or a fold or a flat, whatever we want to call it, extension out the side here, just to give this a bit more rigidity and to try and prevent a little bit of the air, you know, rolling around the edge of it like it might have done before. Who knows? There'll be some, I could read a book on it, but I can't be bothered. So, actually going to run out of material. That's the bulk of the material on the bench there. Not a lot there. Quite a lot of things we still have to do. We don't even have enough length of material to do the little extension piece that I want to do along here. Considering chopping the bit off the back of Cyberman who's been thrown outside there on the lawn. Could do that. Could leave that alone because as it stands right now we can just bolt that all back on and be good. But not much point in that. So again, figuring out how we're going to proceed with the lack of materials and stuff like that. That's got a tiny little incline. It's got a little bit of rake, I guess you'd call it, but not much. So there won't be downforce as such coming from this. Certainly not when I've chopped off. Where's my mark? About here somewhere. It's going to get the chop because all this stuff that hangs out past the rear wheel, remembering the car's only probably 100 mils off the ground, it tends to get beaten up when you're loading and unloading in funny places for car shows and stuff like that. If anyone thinks this is a 5-minute job, you'd be wrong. So I have removed a little bit of stuff and things that we don't need, just making things light. Oh, we could actually, no, that doesn't need to have a piece there. That's fine. That's not too bad. I haven't done anything about the exhaust yet, and we're actually pretty much run out of day. It's 4 o'clock. Done a little bit different with these. Trim the edge a little bit. Put a return on that just to give it some strength. It's pretty gutsy now, pretty strong. You put the hardware, attaching those. A lot less hardware this time. Not getting carried away. Strong enough to do the job, but certainly not overkill. Trimmed up the ends. That'll do. I mean, there's a billion different ways you can do that, and there's a whole heap of theory behind it with how the air is going to interact with the other air and all that sort of carry on. But really, it just needs to be that if I bang my head into it, it's not going to hurt, and it's not going to hurt a Marshall if I don't know, get stuck somewhere and they're trying to recover the car and they're not going to cut themselves on an edge or something like that. It's all deburred and all that sort of carry on. Now exhausts, I reckon, at this point in time, due to a lack of materials and being the apocalypse and all that sort of carry on, I'm just going to drill a 3-inch hole probably there, put the pipes out here with an extension, build a 3-piece because we've got square meterage, lots of material, but not enough in one solid length to go across here. So I'll build 3 pieces, one on each side and a bit in the middle that's got some funky heat shields and stuff to stop the plastic melting on the bumper and incorporate the exhaust pipes and everything. I'll think about and do a nice job so it looks good. Actually, I quite like the cleaner look under here without the extra those things, fences, guide vanes, straights, whatever. May just leave it like that, or possibly just put 2 in that line up nicely somehow with what we're doing with the exhaust, like one on each side there that can incorporate some sort of bracket to hold what we're doing here, so it all tees in nicely. But for now, that'll do. Oh, let's have a lie down. You wouldn't think that's under a Nissan March, would you? That's a big bit of panel. Very large area to have downforce happening. Bit short of the mark though, doesn't quite reach the end of the car just yet. We'll get there. We need some roundy things. Well, we've got one. We need one roundy thing that goes from there to there, and a couple of flanges is what's missing at the moment. Then I've got to make some more panels up. Close this hole here, that hole right the way across. Actually, that might be just one panel this time instead of 3, and one from there to there. I've got the front stuff. I just need to put it back on the car. There'll be a few things that'll be a little bit different there. Right, that's it. I'm going to sleep. See you later.